KGMI Morning News Extra.
Talking Texas with Jason Mercier, who's the director for the Center for Government Reform at the Washington Policy Center. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
And there's always a lot of talk and concern about the possibility of getting an income tax under the guise of a capital gains tax passed in our state. What is happening with that right now?
So a couple of interesting developments. We do know right now that the state's budget is fully balanced with the recovered economic growth. And we know there's the potential of billions of dollars coming from the federal government in a new COVID package to the state. So that kind of makes the question, why are we even talking about tax increases right now? Recently, the governor did say that he is not aware of any efforts to try to bring the state of Washington an income tax. But we do know that today the legislature is holding a work hearing of the tax structural working group that is looking specifically at a corporate income tax, a personal income tax, and a capital gains income tax. And as you mentioned, the governor himself has repeatedly proposed a capital gains income tax. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's actually in his budget when it comes out in a few weeks.
In terms of Washington State's Constitution, why is it important to understand what a capital gains tax is?
Yeah, so if you look at our Constitution, you're not going to see income tax. What you're going to see is the broadest definition of property in any constitution across the country. And property is defined as everything subject to ownership, whether tangible or intangible. And the Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that you own your income. And if you own your income, it's property, which means that if you're going to tax income, it has to be at the property levels of 1% in uniform. So you can't have a graduated income tax without a constitutional amendment, and the voters have consistently rejected those. So what's happening with this effort to impose a capital gains income tax, they're trying to call it something else. They're trying to call it an excise tax. But no place in the world defines a capital gains tax as an excise tax. Everybody, the IRS, every other state makes it clear it's an income tax. And the reason that's important, because if it passes, you're going to immediately be going to the court to see if the court still believes that you own your income.
Yeah, and an example of income I can have is the appreciation of my house when I, hit retirement and sell that house. And if they're trying to capital gains tax that property, that is income I've earned off that house.
And it really isn't a mystery what the motivation is. We did public records of the legislature this year and got records back from supporters of this, and they very clearly say in their own words, they're pushing this, trying to set up a lawsuit to see if the Supreme Court will open the door to a broader income tax. They know the voters aren't going to support this at the ballot box, so you've got these efforts to try to set up a litigation to try to change the rules of the game.
Okay. Can we shift gears a bit to the pandemic with all the business problems going on right now with the latest wave of restrictions? There is this thing called the Governor's Washington Recovery Group. What was that purported to be, and has it actually done anything to help business?
Yeah, if you recall, this was created with great fanfare. The governor held a press conference back on October 13th and said he was creating this working group of officials across his administration try to prioritize how to help businesses and individuals recover from the restrictions that were being imposed. But since that press release, since that initial meeting of this working group, they have not met since. They've only had one meeting. A work plan is currently not available, and we've been told that there's not another meeting scheduled until next year. So it is kind of a question of what was the point of forming with much fanfare this group of state agencies that are supposed to be assisting individuals and employers if it's not actually meeting and a work plan is not available.
Well, it looks like maybe now the next real opportunity for broader input into all this stuff is going to have to be the legislative session starting in early January.
And this is why it was so important for a special session to be called, because we have seen other states do this. And what can happen in a special session, just yesterday in Colorado, the Democratic governor of Colorado called a special session to try to provide relief to employers and individuals suffering underneath the economic impacts. They passed a bill to allow restaurants to keep up to $70,000 of their sales on that tax that would be owed. So if you have a legislature in hand and you have lawmakers available to hear from the public and from employers, relief can be provided quickly. That's really what needs to happen. If we wait until next year, if we wait till the regular budget process, or we wait for Congress, a lot of these businesses are not going to exist anymore.
All right. Well, Jason, as always, we appreciate the detail and context and analysis you bring to us. Jason Mercier is with the Washington Policy Center. Thanks for stopping by KGMI this morning.